The McLaren teammate of Daniel Ricciardo has left himself unable to speak after stitching himself up with laughter in the most amusing way possible. Lando Norris left himself in stitches with an F1 interview gaffe. What was this all about? Try not to laugh too loudly and enjoy the video. Lando Norris laughs himself out of an interview. Despite finishing 10th in the Dutch Grand Prix after team orders allowed him to pass Daniel Ricciardo and claim a point, Norris is still 4th in the Drivers' Championship despite his poor performance in the Netherlands, which saw him fall behind Mercedes Valtteri Bottas for the first time this season. 3 podium finishes have earned Norris recognition as one of the best drivers in Formula One this season. He has more than doubled Ricciardo's points count as the Australian veteran struggles with the transfer to his 3rd team in 4 years. However, interviews like the one he gave to Sky Sports after the race have served as a reminder to the world of how immature he can still be, despite the fact that it's difficult to recall. In the meantime, Norris has made himself laugh with an innocent comment about how blown away the victory was. When asked about how difficult it was to control his car because Norris was the last driver to swap off starting tires, Norris said, "It was really tricky, especially the last 5 laps of the stint," he said. "The first 20 are quite straightforward because you're just in the queue waiting for them to box and get out of the way. So you're looking after the tires, doing what you can with the fuel and things like that because you know that time is going to come at some point. As soon as we got clear and had some clean air, then the pace was very strong, and we tried to go as long as we could to cover them off. But it got to the point, especially as the wind was as gusty and blowy as it was today." Blowy, that was a word? As strong as it was today? Oh no. Sky Sports Natalie Pinkham added, "It is a word." Norris responded, "That's just going to get clipped or something? When the tires are that old as that one, then it becomes just a knife edge to perform," Norris explained before breaking out in laughter. "I can't stop," he murmured, brushing away a tear from his eye. After regaining his composure, Norris added, "It was very tricky. I'm crying. It was very tricky to keep on the track and not to make any big mistakes. It was tough, but it all paid off, and as much as I would have liked to stay ahead of the Red Bull as well as at the end or try and fight the Alpines, we didn't have the pace advantage. I'm happy enough with 1 point." Lando Norris is unsure if the awarding of points in the Belgian GP is a good idea. Norris is opposed to the notion of awarding points for racers in which no actual racing laps have been completed, but he acknowledges that the 6 points scored by his McLaren colleague Daniel Ricciardo for finishing 4th were valuable in the ongoing battle against Ferrari. Norris was in contention for the pole position at Spa after setting the quickest times in Q1 and Q2 on Saturday before falling out in Q3. After that, he was in 10th place, but a gearbox change penalty sent him down to 15th after that. Following the collision of Sergio Perez on his way to the grid, he moved up 1 position in the final classification. When asked by motorsport.com about realizing how costly the collision had been in retrospect, Norris expressed his displeasure and expressed his fury. "Of course," he said. "Yeah, of course. In hindsight, it's probably a good thing that it's only half points as well. Because of this, a lot of the drivers I compete with didn't score any points, or Charles Leclerc just scored 1 point, or anything like that. However, even for us as a team, we have managed to outperform Ferrari, which is significant, but we're here to race, and we're eager to get started. And sure, I'm a little unhappy that I didn't get to try to make up for yesterday's mishap." Norris argued that points should have been awarded only if there had been actual racing laps taken into consideration. "The following day, I don't believe any points should be awarded, given how little we accomplished today. I think it's okay that we only competed X number of genuine racing laps, but that we go out and compete for X number of laps, but to simply drive about behind the safety car and allow others to earn points? When it comes to being first on a significant number of points, I might say the contrary. If it was beneficial to us today, and Daniel received a significant number of points in comparison to Ferrari, I don't believe it was a race deserving of points since at the end of the day, it wasn't a race." When asked if he believed the FIA had started the race solely to get to the point where points would be awarded, he responded that it was worthwhile for the drivers to get a feel for the conditions. "Perhaps they attempted to obtain the points, but whatever their reasoning was for attempting to do so makes sense, and so on and so forth. I simply do not feel that the points should be rewarded. I don't believe they placed us in danger, and I believe it was worthwhile to try. As long as you go 2 laps, it's fine. I believe it was the right decision, but I also believe it was the right decision not to proceed." Despite his denials, he revealed that the disaster and the missed opportunity had weighed heavily on his thoughts. "It keeps playing over and over in my head because I was so annoyed. This was just not because I crashed, but because I'd given up on the chance to perhaps gain a pole position, and I'm fairly persuaded and confident that I could have finished in the top 2 and possibly even ahead of Max Verstappen. Thus, that would have been a lovely result today, even though I don't believe that the result today is one that deserves to be rewarded with points. It would have been been lovely to have been in that position. Wolff warns Mercedes has a deficit against their competitors. Despite the fact that Lewis Hamilton leads the Drivers' Championship and Mercedes leads the Constructors' standings by 12 points at the halfway point of the season, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff believes the team is in a competitive position relative to Red Bull in terms of final lap time. So far this season, Hamilton has won 4 races, while Max Verstappen has won 6. Hamilton has an 8-point advantage over the rest of the field, and Wolff wants his team to enjoy every race. "We think we are hunters. We approach with this fun," Wolff remarked. "Because we are at a competitive disadvantage to our competitors, we have nothing to lose. So now all we have to do is win and look forward to the rest of the experience with great anticipation, thoroughly enjoying each race. We can only do our best, and hopefully it will be enough to keep us in contention for the title until the very end of the season." Mercedes has indicated that 2021 will be their most difficult season in Formula One's turbo hybrid era. Ferrari's current campaign has been compared to their championship-winning seasons in 2018 and 2019 when they possessed a competitive car. Wolff expressed his feelings by saying, "The last few months have been really intense. We had a good start to the spring season where we were able to compete successfully in Portimao and Barcelona. And then we had a couple of poor races, starting with Monaco and then Baku. The team has regained their control, learned from their mistakes, and figured out how to operate their vehicle on new tires, and I believe they will be much stronger in Silverstone and Hungary. The season is long, but it was particularly difficult in 2018 and especially in 2019 when we were in a close fight with Ferrari. We were really pushing the envelope, which meant that we were also pushing each other to the breaking point in order to win the championship trophy. The hopes are one thing, the expectations are another thing, and the reality can be a different thing too." We can deduce from the context that Wolff believes his team isn't good enough. Norris and Hamilton appear to be in agreement. Verstappen is still confident in a strong Hamilton battle. Despite the fact that he is already 8 points behind Mercedes Lewis Hamilton in the driver's standings, Max Verstappen has expressed his confidence heading into the second half of the Formula One season. The Dutchman gradually extended his lead over Mercedes Lewis Hamilton, and he went into the British Grand Prix with a race victory over the 7-time world champion. The swing occurred though when Verstappen, who had qualified on pole, collided with Hamilton in a dramatic fashion on the first lap of the British Grand Prix, sending the Red Bull driver through the gravel and into the tire barrier. As the team prepared to travel to Budapest for the summer break, Verstappen's lead had been cut to just 8 points. As if this wasn't terrible enough, he was engaged in yet another accident in Hungary, this time at the hands of Valtteri Bottas, who caused a first corner pileup at the Hungarian, including another Mercedes driver. Sergio Perez, Verstappen's teammate, was forced to retire from the race after the crash, with the 23-year-old limping across the finish line to win 2 points for Red Bull. Despite Bottas' crash and Mercedes' loss of points, Hamilton was able to finish off on the podium and reclaim the championship lead heading into the 4-week layoff. Verstappen, on the other hand, has not let his lack of confidence affect his confidence. In an interview with Scott Mitchell of the race, Verstappen commented, "It's difficult to have realistic expectations. Right from the start, we had a very competitive car, which was exactly what I was hoping for," he remarked. Did you also enjoy Norris's laughter? We sure did. What is your take on any of these stories we covered?